Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I know you've paid for full seats but only need the edge of it. Please welcome Barrel of Fun to the stage.
Well, the good news is there's a few new faces here. That's just good. How many of you guys own a Barrels of Fun game? All right, so we got some work to do in this room. Okay, good deal. So Wayne's out there, Mr. Pinball. He sells our games. Too bad that they're sold out. We do have 30 labyrinths left. That is it. But anyway, I am very proud to be here at the Australian Pinball Expo. This is my hometown. I grew up here. I bought my first pinball machine here. I routed my first pinball machines here. And then I discovered film and TV and disappeared overseas for 25 years. And I have no experience manufacturing. You can ask my wife. But what I want to show you today is I was tossing out what I was going to talk about. And I was going to show you, I've done a mishmash of two presentations of Labyrinth and Dune. Dune, everything we learned with Dune was way more high-tech and we could throw more money at development. But what I want to show you guys is this little dude from Adelaide made a pinball machine in his dining room because he wanted to make something happen. So this presentation I'm showing you tonight is hope will inspire you guys to chase your dreams. Doesn't mean that I want you to make pinball machines. I don't need more competition. However, I want you guys to realize you can do what you want to do if you put your mind to it. And you'll see the craziness that we did with Labyrinth to get it where it is today and where the company is today. So our first game was Jim Henson's Labyrinth. This is actually created for inspiration, and it actually turned into be the attract screen we did. We didn't even have the game designed at this point. This was just what would it look like as a presentation if you were going to go into this adventure. This is what I actually showed Henson to convince them to take a risk on me. There's a story behind that. So we launched this game Friday the 13th, 2023. We had 13 games in boxes, and we were building 20 games in the factory that day that we actually launched. Why did we do that? As a pinball collector, how many of you guys have put pre-order on games and never got it? Yep, welcome to the club. When I thought about what we're going to do in the community, what we could do, as my partner challenged me, why don't you make pinball machines because you have experience? I said it's stupid and it's expensive and it's hard. After a period of time of budgeting, I thought I would do a business plan to show them how stupid, expensive, and ridiculous to do. Well, when I did that analysis, I looked at it as a collector. What do I want to see in a pinball machine? Not what every other company's doing. Now, what do I want to see? And what I wanted to see was the ultimate collectible piece that I could own of my favorite IP. What does that mean for me? I shouldn't have to choose between 3 different versions. I shouldn't have to choose to buy a cheap version or the most expensive version. If I'm a fan of something, I want the ultimate version of it for a good price. Okay, that's where it came from. Also, I wanted to tell stories in a format that you could actually interact with, a active participation of the person. So when we started putting the plan together about one model to serve them all, make sure we have games in boxes and not use people's deposits to pay for parts, because pinball is hard. But we got to invest in ourselves, because if I don't feel like I can buy all the game parts to have you guys pay me for the game, why should I do that? You guys shouldn't have that burden. I should have that burden, right? Also, the surprise. Who loves Christmas? Everyone, right? How disappointing is it when you know of a game coming out 6 months in advance? Is that fun? Or is it better when it pops up and you're like, holy crap, that's the game I want, right? I remember in 2007 seeing when Stern dropped games. Sometimes you liked them, sometimes you didn't. but it was exciting for new game release because you didn't know what was coming, right? So I wanted to inject that back into the community. You know, sadly, I've worked behind the scenes a lot. I see what's coming out. I kind of know what's coming out. Ain't that exciting anymore. It's another game. Also, my head can build way better games than anyone can make. Our imaginations is really, really powerful, right? So I wanted to create a company to infuse excitement in the community and one version that is hopefully attainable for the fan to collect, to be the pinnacle of their collection. Also, I wanted to create a company to employ people that make amazing things. Something I learned in the film industry, it took me about 10 years in the film industry of being a ignorant filmmaker that wanted to be in control of everything. And when I had a very difficult actor on set that I can't mention, I let the people in my teams take control of their departments. And that became one of the best projects I ever got to be a part of. It was better than what I could imagine. And from that point, I saw these amazing people in pinball. I wanted to give them a place to come and make amazing games. And if we make amazing games, we'll get to do it again and again and again. Barrels of Fun is not an amusement company. We're a collectible company making amazing stuff for collectors. That's what we are. That's how Labyrinth exists. Sorry, tangent. So, how do we come up with Labyrinth? We come up with, just in the film industry, a concept. Won't exist in the real world in that format. But what I do is I task my people to come up with 10 nostalgic things related to that IP. I don't want you to sit down and think about and watch the movie and go, oh, this is important, this is important. I want 10 things right now, write down what's important. And what you'll find in your group or in your own little, study group you do, 5 of those 10 things will resonate between everyone. And that becomes the nostalgic points for the game itself. We don't design a game then put a license on it. We design a game around the thematic elements that people are going to connect to it. Again, you can see on there, some of the stuff actually did make it into the game in some format whatsoever. A lot of stuff didn't. There's a lot of things that I didn't want to take risks with, like a lower playfield. Playfields suck. Making them, just so you know. So that's what we do. We just come up with ideas. And once we do that, then we break down those 5 elements. And these are the elements that we did for Labyrinth. Elo, you got to have the worm from Labyrinth. I always wanted to have a cup of tea with the worm. I wanted to meet the missus. So I had to have an element where he would come up, give you mystery awards, and eventually have a cup of tea with him. Which, by the way, we did actually put a mode in there called Elo's Tea Party. So you actually got to make coffee and tea with him, with making sugar and milk. And it was approved by Henson. So I got to add to the law. Yay. The Wise Man and the Doors. These are elements. When I watched this movie, I was extremely frustrated watching this movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But I was always frustrated with Sarah's journey. Why would she make such stupid decisions? If you're falling down a hole, when you get the choice of going up or down, what are you going to do? You go up. She chooses down. There was just logic, that didn't make sense. So when I was presented with Labyrinth as an option for a license, I knew this was a very unique opportunity for the player to be able to interact with the characters in this film and make this their own journey. So again, going back, you had to have the doors. You have to have the wise man you have to wake up and get awards from. Humongous gate. Part of the element in the game is one of your struggles. You have to get through the goblin gate. So we wanted to create that element. Again, I had no idea how these mechs were going to work. What was important was these were the thematic choices that we were going to have the player to get through to their journey to get to the Goblin King. Goblin City Multi-Ball. Of course, we have to have Ludo. Again, how many guys actually watched Labyrinth here? Because I'm talking like you guys haven't, you've seen it, so I could be talking about things like, why is he talking about rocks? Ludo obviously is a great moment in the film. We have he calls the rocks. He's friends with rocks, and they actually help them get through the Goblin City. So there had to be a wizard mode that would lead up to Ludo calling the rocks, aka the balls, to create the Goblin City multi-ball. Again, the idea was you hit balls around certain areas, and eventually he comes up and he unleashes a multi-ball. These were moments that we knew we had to hit, thematic moments, to have people connect from the theme into pinball, but also opportunities that a good pinball mechanic will entice someone who doesn't know Labyrinth to play it. Okay? So these were the ideas that I would go to Henson and pitch it to them. Okay? And they will sign off. We like this, we don't like this, change this and that. That also comes to art. So while we're doing these concepts and we present that and this is okay, then we actually start working on artwork. So we start playing with different concepts. The one on the left is actually the first back glass we were kind of thinking about, which was a montage of the big battle scene. If you'll notice on the William Bailey back glasses of the 90s, the back glass was always the action center of what the game's going to kind of pinnacle to. So that was kind of to that. And then we realized, the Goblin King was always looking down at what's happening in the labyrinth. So we wanted to incorporate him into that back glass as if he is peering down on you playing the game. So that's where the morph of those two art elements came together. And again, these are just Photoshop elements, nothing special here. Just taking little toy ideas, put them on the screen, put them in a collage, just to get a concept and a feel of it. Here is the original concepts for the artwork. None of this actually made it into the final, but these were things that, again, we're using these to inspire the team to get them into how do we create this world feel alive, right? A pinball machine is an attraction poster to get you to come up and look at it. So when you see it from the side or the front, we want to entice you to come and look at what's on that playfield. So everything we're doing here is basically leading to you. If you're a fan of Labyrinth, all this stuff is very, very recognizable, and they will drag you over to look at the pinball machine. There's an adventure waiting. And then the final artwork was this one. So actually, the two sides, the back box on the side of the castle, there's only one of those games in existence, and that's mine. Everyone voted for the goblins on the side instead of the castle. The whole concept was this is one piece of art. So you got the castle on the back box, and then you had the Goblin King in the back glass looking down. So it's actually one cohesive picture if you put them together. So if you actually have, and I'd be happy if you guys did this, bought 4 labyrinths and put them side to side, it looks like one giant piece of art. So that's, again, from concept to final piece. The actual artist, Johnny Crapp did all the artwork for the playfield and the alternative back glass. The artist actually did this. His name is Jonathan. Not Jonathan. It's Shane. He actually did a lot of the Star Wars and Marvel posters for Disney. This is when you don't know how to make crap. So what you see here is a Illustrator file, because that's the system I knew, and something I learned throughout the industry, actually, I'll go back to John Poppaduke, is make it out of foam core and cardboard. So yeah, I have no mechanical engineering experience. This is me plotting out what the ideas are going to be, where I want the inserts, and what are all the individual things that are happening. What you see here is actually very different to what happened in the final game, but the shots are actually in the general spot. If you go from, so drawing on the left, cutting a whitewood in the middle, and then putting cardboard, so all those are not actually metal, that's actually thick cardboard that we just actually laser cut and placed on there. And you can actually shoot that. It will only last half a day, but you get a general idea of how it flips. And we just put that down and we just start shooting it. And then we just keep tweaking it and tweaking it. That's a Dennis Norman and Johnny Poppaduke concept right there. So what are we going to do? We're going to put toys on it. So we need to put toys. So if I go back to where you saw that concept, we have to have a castle where it represents it in the system itself. So this is actually done by a sculptor from Weta Studios in New Zealand, a very good friend of mine from the film industry. and we started putting the toys together. So we had to have a castle. We talked about having Ludo in the village. We have to have him coming up and playing and calling the balls. So once we had it sculpted, we would 3D print it, and then we would put it on a playfield and see if it would work. There he is. This is in my dining room, so really, really flashy stuff here. This is in the dining room. This is not tied down properly. This is literally just hovering over the hole where the servo sits. And he's a little talking there. The whole point of that is like, let me out. But again, just testing to see how it feels, how it thematically sits on the playfield. Again, home, 3D printer, nothing special. You know, just leveraging my friends and family on how I can make this happen. Here's a side piece. You can see a side of it. This is what it looks like from the top. Here, you can see even pop out from the side. And again, I'm showing Henson this throughout the whole process so they can see thematically what we're trying to do. Here's another one. Bit of distance. I also learned not to use black filament because you can't see anything. If you like to see these, so these are actually Sencut Send in America. It's a place where you can get laser cut flat parts, and you can see I'm really high tech. I'm using painter's tape and hand bending all my wire forms with 3D printed pieces. This works. This is how I figured out how Labyrinth would shoot well. Again, patience. Thank you to my wife for being very patient. She did get a dining room back, by the way. ELO, so there's the print. There's the, 3D model. There's the 3D print. We have the color callouts. That's what we send over to the toy manufacturer to make sure they hit the colors that they need. And again, proof of concept, me just playing with him coming up. His ear got broken off. But again, the whole point is to see how he comes out, how he's going to interact with the people. Oh, look at that. Potential lower playfield. And again, creating all the toys and elements that they're going to entice people to come and play this game. Thematic elements that if you know Labyrinth, you're going to want to see what it does. And for the pinball person, it's like, why is that there? And shoot towards it and see it do something. Interesting story, the colored print down on the bottom there, that was a color printer itself. We were looking at doing 3D color prints in-house. So we were playing with that. Look back in 2002. So here is the professional looking Labyrinth. You can see my printer on the village went to crap, so that's why it looks like spaghetti. But again, building up that world of putting the LCD in the back at this point, telling it where it's going to be, just positioning things. It's just like a diorama, like position it and see how it looks and where it's going to feel, what's going to entice the people to come and play that. Sending this to Henson so they can see the shots. So this is just me shooting the whitewood. This is only the second version of this whitewood. But this is all one of these things of using different foam core, cardboard. I know this probably makes me look less professional, but I want you guys to understand you're able of doing this yourself. This is how Labyrinth existed. See, even the paper tape, the painter's tape holds up on the ramp. But again, it just shows you exactly how everything's working. And this is very basic code. Like, so every time I program something on a prototype, I make sure every switch reacts. So every shot I design in a game always has to usually have two outcomes, two different ball paths that come out of it. And every shot should actually organically lead into another shot. So if I shoot a shot, it should cause a diverter or it should cause another mech to move. Again, this is all handmade. There's nothing precise or anything like this. But once I got to this point, that's when you start taking it to the next level and you start using programs like SolidWorks and so forth to take it to the next level, ready for production. But this is how we knew that the toys and the shots would work how they should work. So once that gets all approved, we also work in parallel with the art. So original concept on the left right there. The middle is kind of an in-between of heading in the right direction, and on the right, you're getting very close to the finished piece. We actually, Johnny kind of struggled with the artwork at first, and I had to bring in my Weta friend, my 3D sculptor, to come in to try and give a better overlay of how the playfield's going to lay out, which is on the left, and then we progressed on to the final piece of artwork. As well as that's going along, we are also doing the design elements for the UI. Actually, some of this is actually still a little bit different. A lot of the just working on the concepts of the fairy flying up, you killing the fairy, and he gets a giggle when he sprays it. You'll see it shortly. Spray them. I promise he's going to kill them. He's going to kill them. There you go. There goes one. He's happy. But that's the whole idea. You kill fairies and you're making friends with Hoggle. Again, the whole concept of this game is this is your journey through Labyrinth, and you're collecting these characters and friends to help you go through through the Goblin City. So general animation. So we built this all in-house. And we'd send these all off for approval to Henson before they even go into the game. So we just do storyboards, text treatments, and so forth like that. And that is how Labyrinth was made in my dining room, and then I hired smarter people than myself, which is always a good thing to do, that took that into SolidWorks, found all the other little mistakes that we found, got that into production, and then went to launch on Friday the 13th of 2023. So I don't know if that leads to any inspiration for you all, but if I can do it, you can do it too. Dune, that's a different beast. We took a pretty big swing with this game. This time we went from a team of 4 people. We were probably at 14 people, Rebecca, you'd say at this point? No idea? All right. So at this point, we had 2 mechanical engineers on board, an electrical engineer, 10 people out back making labyrinths at the same time. And instead of doing more, we did a lot of the foam core stuff, but we started leveraging what we learned from Labyrinth in the SolidWorks phase, going into Dune. So creating the planet under glass. So again, we start out, we go more into 3D now. So we have a rough concept of what the toy is going to look like. Automatically goes directly into 3D sculpt, and then we finalize that for the thumper. That pretty much finalizes that very quick. What are the core things that we wanted to see in Dune? First of all, we can't be Paul Atreides. We want to be active in the journey of the Dune movie series. So this is why Dune is set up as you're one of the Fremen, that you're seeing the ascension to Paul becoming the Messiah. Okay, so during the day you're attacking harvesters, collecting water and spice, and at night you're partaking and watching Paul become who he needs to be. So what are the things you want to see? You're gonna want to see the thumper. You're gonna ride a worm. You want to attack the harvester. These are elements that are very action driven. These are people that want to see happen from the book, happen in the movie, happen in the pinball machine. So those are the elements that we all agreed upon, and that's what we started circling around. So ideally, a thumper bumper was the way to go. The worm. How are we going to do the worm? So the worm, as you can see on the side, is not what we actually ended up putting into the game. But we knew the ball had to eat the worm. This is the same time Jaws that came out, so we had to make sure the worm was going to eat the ball. We had to ride the worm. So there was moments of how could we throw the ball up on the top? And that kind of led to, like, Circus Voltaire was a game I really, really loved. But what if I can have the Circus Voltaire eat the ball? Because Totem is another game I love. So this is one of the things of, it was like, holy crap, can we combine that? And my mechanical engineers looked at me like, no. And I said, well, why not? And it's like, I don't have a good reason. And I said, well, let's give it a try. We've got 2 weeks, let's try it. And that's what we got to. So again, concept on the left, starting doing the models on the right, and then what you see on the right is actually the toy that goes around the mech itself. The harvester. We had to have the harvester that falls down. A lot of people don't see that, but the actual middle section of that harvester actually breaks apart and falls back into the game. I keep asking Eric to make it more dramatic. He hasn't done it yet. So again, drawing, 3D sculpt, break it down for toy manufacturing, and then that's when you get the finished pieces like this. Another section was I really wanted a place where you could battle, during the training Polar Tradies does. So I wanted this battle arena, as you see on the left. Actually, the team fought me on this a lot because they thought that was a pretty stupid area to have. It's like, well, we had a fork system in Labyrinth. We liked having a spinner behind it, but what happens if we put a magnet in there? Because the whole thing in the movies is the force field that they have in the Dune series, their force field. So I wanted to replicate that. So the whole idea was to capture a ball that you can shoot in, lock in it, and when you hit it, it will do crazy stuff like the force field does. So you can see the concept on the left, execution in the middle, and then the Fedaykin sand trap on the side. Because that's a really big moment when they hide in the sand, and when they attack, they pop out. So the whole idea is we wanted that something to have that action. And I think it was Bowen. He goes, have you ever played Radical? I'm like, nope. He goes, that spot on the right has enough place for that to go in there. And literally within 12 hours, we cut a hole where the drop target went in, we bent some metal, and that's where it is. Never be scared to try something, unless you got 6 weeks. Again, a very good friend of ours over at Weta did all the sculpts for us. So we got the pain box, which is now, people hated the first time seeing it, and now it's one of the most favored modes that we have in Dune, that one-handed gameplay of the pain box. Huh? Push both flippers and see what happens. Again, this is where, now that we can afford to do things a little bit quicker, we're not doing really bad stick figures, but we're actually using 3D models in SolidWorks to create the texture and the landscapes. So this is basically how we fit and fill, see how everything fits, how thematically it looks, and make sure we're heading in the right direction. Again, when you look into this playfield, I want you to want to explore that playfield. Hey, worm. I don't know why I put so many sculpts in the game. You don't want to know how much tooling costs for toys. But again, if I can do it, I'm going to do it. Here is the first concept pass for the art on the playfield. Left from, rough ideas to the middle and to the right. Johnny worked amazingly quick on this game. He was, I didn't realize how big of a fan he was of Dune. He knew way more than me, and he absolutely crushed it. I'm sure you would agree with that. There's the final pieces. So there's the concept he had on the side. And a lot of these concepts you see on the right there is what we send to the licensor to get approval before we even actually move further on. The licensor controls everything, and there's no getting around it. Don't try. There's the final back glass. And all those actors actually approved of that back glass. Everyone is involved, including the director. And the apron artwork that everyone really, really liked. Of course, one of the things that we learned on Labyrinth, which is I make the best outlanes in the industry, is the lighting system in Labyrinth was a lot to be desired. So how could we solve that? Like, there was a lot of critique, not negative critiques of Labyrinth, but things that people would have liked to have seen and fixed. So that's how the day and night cycles came into Labyrinth, because there's clearly day and night cycles in the movie, and literally how we were going to do that, and that came the horizon lighting. We weren't trying to figure out how to do it because you've seen Pin Stadium and everything else, and I literally got to the point of when I was looking at the glass trim, it's like, well, how about if we just milled that out another inch down, do our own tubing, 45 degree, put LED strip in it, It can be popped in, popped out. Because one thing I learned very quickly, Labyrinth wasn't built for production. It was built by a dude in his dining room. And then seeing people try to build that game on a production line was painful. So everything I thought about this game was like, how do we make their life easier that they don't have to keep asking me, how do we do this? So it's like simple extrusion, 45 degree, lay in the LEDs, goes in, and then the glass trim goes on top, done deal. Literally takes 10, 15 minutes to install. And I think it actually worked out amazing. Again, everything we put into Dune, like if you play Labyrinth and how tight those shots are, when you play Dune, they feel a lot wider. And that was mainly because with Labyrinth, I was working with Bowen and Phil, really high-end pinball players. And every time they screwed up or they were having trouble, I would adjust it to their liking. And then when I saw a family and a kid play that game for the first time, I was just, oh my gosh, I've made the worst game in history. Because it's a very, very hard game. It will make you a better player. But I want our games to be approachable. So that's why Dune, you'll find, is a lot more wide open on the shots, because I want people to be able to hit the shots. Cinematic pinball experience. So you know, my marketing director makes all these slides, so I apologize for these dramatic terms. Again, adding accessories. How do we make it feel more cinematic? Using actual replicas for the crystal knife on the shooter rod. Also making sure we've got film callouts, custom callouts, and sound effects and everything we've done. Every model you see in that game actually comes from the model from the movie. So there were actually models used in the film itself. We had access to all their archives. Interactive topper to be coming shortly. It's been the longest topper in history for us, but I think it's worth it. And also adding 3D, the 3D slingshots, giving more depth to that world, bringing it up instead of being flat. Again, I want to give you guys a world under glass. There's the final product. The flyer. This is all marketing spiel now. Actually, I had to change this too, but we are shipping, and we launched it April 15th. So at this point, I don't know what time it is, but I want to open this up to Q&A, and you have questions for me. He's got one over here. He's got a microphone coming for you.
Very official. Just wondering, did you ever consider redesigning the cabinet when you designed your pinball?
So let's go back to, I told you everything I learned from other companies. A lot of people want to re-engineer everything, and what I have learned from my experience is I need to get things out the door. And one thing that we as collectors really, really like is the nostalgia of pinball. If I radically change that to you all, you're all going to crap on it, right? Because we come to play pinball because we're familiar with the format, and we love that format. That's what we celebrate. We don't want a game that sticks out on a row of pinball machines. We want it to fit into it, right? So my goal is not to re-engineer everything. My goal is to create a world in that shoebox that's enticing that you to come back and play it for more. Now, what happens in the next 10 years is probably going to be radically different, but I can't give you radical different until we get there. So by the time you see Labyrinth, I mean, you can already see it in Labyrinth, Dune, Winchester, Game 4. There are changes happening. That game's going to be pretty different by the time we get to 2030. So there's over 1,800 parts in a game. I won't say how much wire in a car because you all heard that from another person. Yeah, the game's going to be different, but it's all going to. I've got to ship games before I can reinvent everything, and it's more important to ship games to you all than me trying to make a very nice cut hinge. Look at that! Gifts for questions. Hey, she's giving out freebies for questions. So who's got more questions? There we go. 2 more hands. Here we go. Oh, that one over there. We're heading down to Tasmania.
Have you got the time?
I do not have the time. It is 7:30. Actually, no, I won't go there.
We got time.
So with the new Dune movie coming out, is there any
Part
chance
3?
of new content?
So I've met with Legendary. They are fantastic partners. I'm extremely excited about what's being discussed, but I don't want to promise anything. But if we do what we're going to do, it's probably going to be a first, and I can't wait. But there's many other people in that production that needs to give their blessing, but they actually approached us about adding, well, I pitched something to them, expect them to reject it, and they're like, oh, what about this, 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 and this? And I'm like, I'm open, let's do it. But get me the contract, says we can. So, but whatever we do, if there is additional code to be added, there will be no additional cost. That's going to be given to the thing. That doesn't mean that we may come up with something you may want to add to the game to take it to another level. But it won't affect the gameplay. It will be something that, kind of think of the accessories and the top of, like, if you want it, you can have it, but it's not necessary if we add more code. Oh boy. Oh no, you got no. Jonathan, not for you, buddy.
Are you brave enough to make an unlicensed title?
Sorry?
Are you brave enough to make an unlicensed title pinball?
You seen Winchester, right?
Well,
No, I absolutely.
yeah.
So
No, I know, that's the question.
so
People don't want to test it.
So we have what we call 3 categories of games that we want to make. We have A tier that we know that will fund the company. We know it should be a no-brainer. Dune kind of fell into that, and that kind of spooked me because the sales ain't strong for that game in the beginning, but people finally saw the evidence of what it was going to be, and it took off. So we have category A that we kind of feel like that's going to be the strong game that's going to carry us through. We have B that is like a labyrinth. We know we'll sell 500 games, but we know it'll be an amazing pinball experience, and when people discover it, it has the potential of becoming an A. And then we have a C tier, should not exist, but we know they're going to be amazing pinball experiences. Winchester should not exist as a game. Realistically, if I go by your old demographic and what your inputs you guys say you want, you all didn't ask for Winchester, you all didn't ask for Labyrinth, and you actually didn't ask for Dune. Someone needs to print me a t-shirt that says barrels of fun making games no one wanted since 2023. So whoever does that, I'll buy them off you. But it's like, yeah, so there is a category we have of games in development that have no specific timeline, and when they're ready to be launched, they will be launched in between an A and B title.
I get stickers. I don't want the stickers. All right. Internet software updates, high score tables, and internet connectivity. Why is it so hard?
Because it's expensive.
Why is it so expensive?
Because the internet sucks.
Is
No,
it
it's
something
the
that's coming up in
infrastructure.
the future?
I've wanted. I've got to be careful what I say here. There's always been something I've wanted to do from the get-go that makes it. If you own a Barrels game, I'm a collector. I am here not because I want to sell games. I am here because I want to hang out with you all. I am a collector. I'm not a manufacturer. I want to hear and talk to you guys. Trust me, if I had a chance, I'd stay here all night and talk about future games and everything else. So I wanted to create something that if you have a Barrels game and you go and play another Barrels game somewhere, that whatever you've done on your home game will follow you to the next game. But doing that is extremely expensive. Look at Stern Insider Connect, right? It's an amazing piece of software. But I'm self-funding this whole company. I don't have VCs. I don't have a billionaire backer. It's my livelihood. So we have things in plans. We've had people reach out to us that have things that are very similar to what we would like to see happen. We do have Wi-Fi updates on our games. We've had many, not issues, we've had people that have had issues of bricking their PCs in doing it. It's a minority, not a majority. But when you get 20 people calling in on one day, customer support freak out. And then like after about a month of investigating, it's like, so how many of these games are breaking? 20. How many updates do we deploy? 1,000. I'm like, oh, 20 is not bad actually if you look at the statistics on it. That's within margin of error. So we are going to probably open that up again shortly. But again, we're trying to make this experience easier for you to update, make sure this is a more straightforward process. So yes, we want to do that. It's about finding the right resources to do it that makes sense, doesn't cost me the farm, and the right partner to do it, because I do not have the experience and Eric already has enough work on his plate. Oh, over there.
As a Category C game for Winchester, we were surprised by its success and able to build any more.
So,
great theme.
Winchester were always in the works, and our goal was obviously to launch Labyrinth in the first year, launch a second game after that, and in that year when we launched Dune was to launch a second line. The second line was to help us get more capacity. I don't want people waiting for games longer than 12 months. Having one line does not really give you the opportunity to do that, so we had to expand our line to a second line. So Winchester was being developed in the background because, again, there was a C title. We knew it was an amazing game, but we knew it was going to take time to experience it and want to buy it. So we built the second line to do Winchester. We anticipated that we would have to make 5 games a week to meet demand of Winchester, because we figured Dune took a long time to get its wind, so we figured Winchester would be probably half the length of time of what Dune was. So we go into this launch. I was going to do 666 units. A very good marketing friend outside in the other world said, do not do 666. People will not buy that game. There are very religious people that will not accept that. So that's why we settled down to 525, because that's the street address for the house. And off we go. Because again, we're only going to make 5 games a week. That's enough. 5 games a week mathematically was enough for us to hire 4 people, train them very slowly on the line so we can get the production where we want it to be. Game sells out in 28 hours. We have to make 5 games a day. How do I do this in the holiday season in the United States with the flu season? It's extremely difficult, and we're only catching up now. In fact, I think Winchester is almost up to speed where we wanted it to be 6 months ago. So we went from 22 people to 40 people. I love people, but they're really, really hard. It's really, really hard. So the whole idea was slow ramp up, train people, get the train rolling. What happens is game sells out. Holy crap, let's hire as many people as we can. That didn't work out great. People get sick, holidays happen, and yeah, we just had to figure it out on the fly. So that's how Winchester came about. Yep. Absolutely. So development-wise, you can't let the line run dry, because I can't afford to send those people home, because I'm teaching them pretty useless skills, to be frank with you. Like, these skills don't translate that well to other things. So if parts don't come in and I've got nothing for them to build, I'm still paying them to stand there. That's hard to swallow, right? But I'm not going to pay for those retraining. So we had to get more engineers. So now we have technically 3 mechanical engineers on staff. We have another one that is kind of floating between projects, 2 electrical engineers. Our development path, Becca, you say development is pretty much on top right now with what our goals are, wouldn't you agree? So just so you know, we have enough licenses out to 2023. No, 2030, sorry. As I was saying, I still had a lot in 2023, trust me. So development is not perfect, but we have a lot of it already in work. We have already been playing game 4, 5, and 6. Can I get approval for them? We'll see, but we're working on that, right? So the biggest thing is we've got games where they need to be. roughly, but we now need the line to keep up with that. And that's really, really difficult because you got people that don't show up, parts don't come in. I mean, I'll give you a story. It happened 2 weeks ago. I had aprons that were getting down to the last 110 dunes to be built. 58 of them had the PEM stems installed backwards. That brought dune to a halt for a whole week. So now I had to switch all those people over to Winchester while the vendor now has to remake them, get them back to me. Hopefully I don't get a tariff charge on it. And so we can get dune and get that finished by the end of July. These are the day-to-day things that I deal with that you thought everything was going smooth, and then my inventory comes in and goes, what's wrong with this apron? And I'm like, nothing. Oh. And then it's like, okay, take photos. Let's send it to the vendor. Let's figure it out. So, yes. So it is very difficult to keep the line running as well as running development, plus keeping people employed and meeting payroll and healthcare and licenses and contracts, kids going to school. I mean, Rebecca handles the boys. Like I told her a story when I convinced her to let me start Barrels of Fun that I would be around home more. I'm in Houston more, but being at home, that was one of the things I truly underestimated, the amount of time that I would have to be at the factory. And that's been tough. Let's turn it up. Another question.
When you're designing and manufacturing the mechanisms for your games, how do you test their reliability and also their quality assurance?
In a very noisy room. So typically on a development cycle, because I will always make a short story very long. Thank you, Dr. John. We would have our vendor make the prototype. That would take 6 weeks. Then we'll bring that in-house. We would test that up to anywhere between 300 to 500,000 cycles. If that passes, then we go into samples and production. That slowly devolved into, it took 7 to 8 weeks for them to get us the part. We invested in more hardware internally, so we can take a concept now within 12 hours, have it working in our facility. Then we test that the same amount of time. Then we send that to the vendor for them to verify it, and then we go into samples. So example, the toys in Labyrinth of Ludo going up and down, the worm and that, we loaded that up with 5 times the amount of weight. We ran them for 1 million cycles on those servers. Servos lasted absolutely fine. We ordered the whole production run, which was actually, it was 1,200 run. We ordered 1,400 of them for overlap for reselling them or whatever broke. Literally the first 100 of them all failed. So that's when I learned, because everyone back in the day, what I learned with servos, you should have metal servos, not the rubber servos. It turned out it was actually the opposite. With what we were doing with it and the way the motion was, we actually had to go back to the plastic ones. And they worked out fine. So I have about 300 servos sitting in the warehouse. So that could be on the for sale website soon. So, but yeah, we just test them. We got a room, we got 4 or 5 cabinets that things just get loaded in there and they just go up and down until they break. Any other questions? Yeah. I've lost 6 figures in tariffs that I have not passed on to the customers. It's just how it is. I can't, when you're doing a $10 toy, that tariff is not hard to pass on to a consumer. But when you're doing a $11,000 product and you tack on, I mean, I literally got hit with 2 120% tariffs on 2 containers coming in. And it was literally the day, these were the tariffs that were at their peak for one day. I got hit twice on that. And there's nothing I could do about it. So I just absorbed it into the company. It hurts. We're going to get potentially some of it back, but there's all this paperwork and red tape that, again, if I focused on what's at my feet right now, I would just crumble up and just roll away. But I can't. I've got that 10-year plan. I know where I'm going. You guys are buying games. You're giving me the support. I need to be successful. And that's how we get through it. But tariffs suck. I don't know. Hey, how much do you guys know about tariffs? What's the point of tariffs?
To
So it's actually meant to protect industries within the United States. I don't know too many other pinball companies outside the US that need that need protecting, but it is what it is. We just absorb it and we move on. Do my best. Yes, sir.
What is the change do you want people to associate in pinball with Barrels of Fun?
Go on a cruise. No.
Pinball on a boat.
What I want people to do is enjoy pinball together. Everyone that buys a pinball machine is very proud of it, right? You're either proud of the work you've put into it or the theme that you love, and you want to share that with people. I mean, how awesome is it when someone walks into your house and they go, "Is that a pinball machine?" You know? They still make those. I spent 2 years before the company became real going to vendors, spending 2 weeks of my life explaining to them that we still made pinball, right? And convincing them that they should make pinball parts for me. But again, when people find out pinball still exists and they see license they love on it, there's an instant connection. I got into pinball because I restored them and it gave me a breakaway from the computer side of it. But what kept me in pinball was the community that I went out and played pinball in tournaments or having a drink or just buying and trading games, right? That's what made me stay in pinball. That's why I want to create themes that not every pinball person wants, because that's going to bring new people in to discover cool pinball. And that may broaden some pinball people's minds when their wife says, "Oh, I love Labyrinth," and they're like, "I can buy another game?" Here we go, right? I am here to create really cool moments that we get to share collectively. You know, if that's going on a cruise together, you know, or being in a tournament and, you know, breaking bread and talking about games or doing a trade, that's what we want to do. I want to create moments that you get to share with each other through interactive playing art. I only got 5 minutes. They're wrapping me up.
One more question, I would say.
I told you, we just moved this over to the table.
Moving along with obviously the cruise thing, I see that you're doing sort of the Barrels Club as such. That's obviously for the US residents. Is there any plans for bringing anything of that to Australia?
100%. The biggest problem with doing this overseas is shipping sucks and it's expensive. So we are working on a workaround that with our distributors overseas that we can mass mailer all that stuff out to them, and so people overseas can still participate in the membership. The membership is all about creating opportunities and events that you can come to and hang out and talk about pinball that would not be readily available. And an opportunity that if we screw up again with like Winchester, that you guys can actually get a chance to buy one. Alrighty. What type of music machine would you like? In excess? My sister would be very happy with you right now. She took me, my very first concert was In Excess at the Royal Adelaide Showgrounds with In Excess. That was awesome. ABBA? I got a game out there for you. No, I would love to tackle a music game. I really, really would. Because I think, let's be honest, the soundtrack of our lives are playing in the supermarkets. You know what I mean? Like, when you hear a song, it takes you back to a moment in your life, mostly good, sometimes bad, but it automatically transports you to a place and time that can be a really nostalgic moment. That is no different than we do with movies. So, yeah, I want to give one a go because I think I can create an experience that can do the same nostalgic pulls as a movie or any other IP that can. Just got to wait for the right one to come along. Good question.
Probably one last question if we've got it in us.
No one asked for what the next game is. That's awesome. Thank you. Let's shut it down. So,
you know what? I've got one then.
You said you're from South Australia.
Yeah. Oh, don't go there. I know where you're heading. We're not going to Snowtown. Ask Canadians.
I've got one I could ask.
So I'll come back to you. So, because we'll end on a high note.
You talk so much about themes that people didn't ask for.
Mm-hmm.
What is the theme that you know everyone is asking for? Because that's always the fun question, right? Everybody goes, what theme would you make, and everything else, right?
It's so diluted now.
Right? It's so easy to say all of that. Without you having to tell me games or everything else, because that's not the kind of answer I'm looking for. What is the funniest time you've ever had a meeting and just gone, and they're like, that'll never happen, and like it's still in your head? And I mean more the feeling, experience, and who you've talked to and gone, this is a ridiculous conversation I'm having.
I at least have 4 of those IPs already wrapped up. I'm not joking.
Amazing. So good.
The appearance of Geezer is coming. Barrels of Fun, the name. I had lots of little different names between me and my partner and Rebecca, and we're just going back and forth. And it got to a point that's kind of useless. Well, isn't this a barrel of fun? Which actually is a negative. Like, we're not having fun. Like, have you ever been put into a barrel? It sounds like a lot of fun being rolled down the hill until you do it, and then it's like, no, this is not good. And it literally is like, this is like, I'm having such a barrel of fun doing this. This is not, I'm not having fun. And then it's just like, shit, that's a pretty good idea. And that's how it stuck. Like, because we had to register something. That's literally how Barrels of Fun came about. Nothing special. Oh, ask Canada. He absolutely said it was a unique name. But here's the thing. Do you think the name Disney meant anything before he made Snow White? It didn't mean anything, right? Our product will make our name special. Our experiences is what makes our name special. Not the words, not the letters. It's the experiences that we're giving. And that's what Barrel represents, is A, the community making cool shit. Oh, part of this kid's here. All right, time is up. They're wrapping up. I want to give you guys a 15 minutes heads up. I want to do Barrel Ball out on, I don't know, we'll choose Dune or Labyrinth. So that means I need, you do Labyrinth. So we want everyone there. We're going to give away prizes to the people that win Barrel Ball. Basically, Barrel Ball is you all get in one single line. You make a shot. If you sink the shot correctly, you go to the back of the line. If you miss the shot, you're eliminated, and we keep doing that until we get down to one person. So Barrel Ball in 15 minutes. In Labyrinth, you choose the one that's got the most space. And I want to say thank you for coming out to listen to me talk, and I just want you guys to know my family's actually here. My sister, Evelyn, she's never actually seen our games ever. Neither my brother-in-law or actually... No, Katie hasn't seen it, so they've never actually seen any of this stuff before. My dad did, and he's like, yeah, whatever. So they're here for the first time seeing what we're doing. So let's go and play Barrel Ball, people.
All right. Once again, thank you so much. What a great presentation.
There are prizes.
Fun.